You know, when I rolled to see which anime I would watch next, and I landed on Taboo Tattoo, I had no expectations. I assume it wouldn't be great since I've never heard anyone talk about this anime before, but even then, I have been pleasantly surprised by Trash Fire before. So how was it, you ask? Bad. Bad. It's bad. Oh my god, was it not good? But why was it not good? This is what I'm going to tell you today. Now, I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but I will be touching upon a few plot points anywhere from episode 1 to 12. So if you want to experience the full anime by yourself, feel free to go ahead and do that right now, even though I have no idea why you would do such a thing to yourself. Anyhow, I am Tal, and this is my random anime review of Taboo Tattoo. Akatsuka Seigi Justice is a regular middle school guy who beats up thieves and protects homeless men after school. After saving one particular homeless man, he is given a weird tattoo. This tattoo turns out to be a special secret weapon developed in an arms race between the fictional kingdoms of Serenistan and the United States. He meets a young girl who uses a tattoo herself and finds himself into a spiral of war, having to learn to master his new power to bring the conflict to an end. Sounds kind of interesting, right? That's what I thought too, which is why I was so disappointed when we lost the plot halfway through. I mean, we got weird reveals, poor explanations of what's going on, death out of nowhere, the villain's goal keeps on changing, it is a mess. Oh, and the ending. Oh my god, that ending! Oh. I can't remember the last time I watched an anime that ended on such a disappointing note. The last thing they show you in the entire anime is a kind of trailer for a possible second season, and I cannot tell you how happy I am that that does not exist right now. I could probably take an hour to explain everything this story does wrong, but frankly, I don't think it is worth my time or my energy. The potential it had at the beginning makes me want to give it a few extra points, but I can't see myself giving the story more than a 4 out of 10. These are some of the worst characters I have seen in any anime, but before I can explain why, I have to make a side note about their names. I have poor naming sense. I am aware of that. I suck at naming characters and places and all of that. But I'm sure I could make a better job than the authors of this pile of crap. I mean, you got some okay ones like Tom Shredfield or Lisa Lovelock, but then you have Blood Blackstone, Bluesy Floozy, and even Colonel Goddamn Sanders. And those are all American names. I'm not mentioning the kingdom's name because as weird as they can be, they were trying to make them sound like a foreign country that does not exist. That is also from who knows where. They never tell you where that country is on Earth. So they had to get creative with how they sounded, but I'm still not quite sure how to pronounce them. With all of that said, all of those characters have a single personality trait at most, and some of them aren't even that lucky. You got the typical main character that wants to bring justice to the world. You got the otaku, you've got the sadist, and you also got the mad scientist who does crazy things without telling everyone because he's a goddamn psychopath. There's also very little character development, and most of what we got there isn't even good. Seigi kinda loses his ideals and replaces them with revenge. Bluesy is much of the same, and Tom is still a loser who can't do anything right. God damn! The princess had some potential early on, but that was before we heard about her motives and her true goal. The only vaguely good character is one of the villains, Schrodinger's cat. She was a homeless girl in the kingdom who was found by the princess. She's ruthless and claims that she doesn't need anyone to live, and that kindness will get you killed in the end, and yet she's saved and is seen caring for a stray cat and a capybara for some reason. I was really intrigued by her and that duality in her personality, but unfortunately, that's all we got for her. I honestly did not care about any other characters, and I have no remorse giving them a 2 out of 10. The only reason they're not a 0 is because of their design, which, honestly, some of them are kinda cool. I especially love Ganesha's design, even though she has no personality and does not speak and does not do anything productive for the entire anime. I think I might not have been drunk enough for this. I mean, look at this. The few scenes playing before your eyes right now are not edited by me in any way, shape, or form. This is what the anime looks like. Poor frame rate, weird angles, shaky camera. In a few places I can see what JC staff was going for, and a very few of them actually feel like deliberate artistic choices, but the rest... It almost feels like the subscribe button is jumping at me and telling me to subscribe to this YouTube channel and to click on the bell so you don't miss any uploads in the future. And to top it off, it's also telling me to leave a like and a comment. How crazy even is that? There's a scene in episode 3 or 4 where Seigi and Bluesy are sparring, and it cuts to a weird shot of their house, camera shaking and spinning as it moves from the front door to the stairs, and it stays there for a good 5 seconds. And at this point I found myself asking, if 2 people are fighting next to me, am I really the guy who looks at the stairs like, "Oh my god, is that mahogany?" All of that being said, it's kind of fascinating to watch, honestly. Multiple times per episode, I found myself going back a little to rewatch something because I could not believe my eyes. Still shots look great most of the time, but when they move, things go wrong. I'm giving it a 3 out of 10, but honestly, if you're studying scenography or you just want to see something weird, you should study that. That's probably worth a bit of your time. The music, honestly, it's not bad. In fact, it's probably the best part of this entire anime. It's calm when it needs to be, it emphasizes the tension, and it genuinely has some pretty good battle music. Also have to give props to Mayan and Trigger, who did the opening and ending songs respectively. They're pretty good, and I actually found myself waiting for an episode to end just so I could hear egoistic emotion again. Feels like that's not a good point for the anime as a whole, though. 7 out of 10. This is a martial arts battle shonen. It needs to have good fight scenes. If it can't give us that, there really is no point to watching this. There is no point to watching this. A few early fight scenes are alright despite the weird animation, but by the end I could barely tell what was going on anymore. The final episode is the worst offender here, with choreography that does not make any sense or that you just can't see. I mean, seriously, can anyone tell me what's going on here? The tattoo powers are very similar, as in, they are cool and clear at the beginning, but they get convoluted and confusing at the end. Bluesy can create air bombs, but eventually she becomes able to create air fields and decompress the air from inside a person's lungs, without any explanation of how she can do that now. Seigi's power is probably the worst. It's introduced as a power over the void that can destroy anything it touches, and soon becomes able to cancel out effects, which is only ever used to heal himself, even if he loses a limb or has an entire katana shoved down his arms. The princess has the same exact power as him, and yet she can also manipulate the earth and create laser beams. How she does that is never explained. And I just have to mention the 4 different powers that just create a barrier that destroys / breaks / shatters what it touches. Technically they are different powers, but in practice they all do the same thing. Big transparent wall goes swoosh, so don't touch it. Giving credit where it's due, however, Schrodinger's cat absolutely has the best power in the entire show. Mainly because it's the opposite of what you would expect. According to Schrodinger's famous experiment, if something isn't observed, we can't make sure that it truly exists or what state it's in. Other animes have used this to make characters who can do basically anything as long as they aren't observed, but here, Schrödinger can phase through anything and even possess people as long as she's being looked at. The only way to counter that is to look away, but even then, you can't properly fight against what you can't see. Her power alone is so cool and fascinating to me, and if it wasn't for her, I would give the fighting in this anime a 2 out of 10, but for her, I'm giving them a 4.
Yatta! Woo! USA! 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 USA!
This brings Taboo Tattoo to a total score of 20 out of 50, a full 4 out of 10. I really thought it would be lower than that, what the hell? It starts out good, with some honest potential, but before long, it becomes a contrived mess with uninteresting characters, questionable animation, and fight scenes that go from bad to worse, and unfortunately the music is not good enough to save this forest fire. The only reason I would recommend that you give it a watch is to get a taste of how bizarre the animation is for yourself. If you're interested in it, you can find it on both Crunchyroll and Funimation, and the latter of those even has it in dub. I still don't recommend that you go and watch that though. It was a bad time. I regret spending 6 hours of my life watching this. With that, I'm gonna go out of here and smash my head with a hammer repeatedly so I can forget about this entire experience. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, keep having fun.